You don't recognize yourself anymore, do you? You wake up and something feels off. You're more distant, more tired, and no matter how much you try to be okay, you can't fake it like you used to. But what if I told you that you're not breaking down, you're waking up? That the pain, the isolation, the confusion, it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that the real you is finally trying to surface. And if you stay with me for the next few minutes, I'll show you why this darkness you're in might be the beginning of everything you've ever needed. You didn't just stumble onto this video. Maybe it looks like you clicked it randomly, but no, this message has been following you for a while. You just weren't ready to hear it until now. And yeah, it takes a lot to get to this place. Not just physically sitting here watching a video, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to become the version of you that's just tired. Tired of pretending, tired of forcing a smile, tired of holding in all those emotions like they're pills you have to swallow just to get through the day. You've done the be strong thing. You've smiled through pain for so long it started to feel normal. You've avoided mirrors, avoided quiet moments, avoided yourself, and you probably thought you were winning. You thought being strong meant pushing through. You thought staying busy meant you were healing. But deep down, something inside you always knew the truth. You knew there was a storm building under all that calm. You knew at some point something would crack, not because you're weak, but because you were never meant to carry all of this alone. So if you're hearing this right now, don't brush it off. It's not just background noise. It's not just another video trying to hype you up. This is you meeting yourself, without the mask, without the act, without the noise. When you finally get to this point, you don't need a checklist. You don't need some step-by-step guide to fix your life. You just need someone to look you in the eye, even through a screen, and say, I see you, I really do, and you're not crazy for feeling this way. This isn't about fixing you. You're not broken. You're just exhausted. Exhausted from being in spaces where you don't feel like you belong, from constantly twisting yourself into a shape that makes everyone else comfortable, while crushing your own soul in the process. You're not lost. You're just over it. Over the version of yourself that was never really you. That version helped you survive. It got you through some rough times. But now it's time to stop surviving and start listening, because underneath all that numbness, beneath the silence you've been avoiding, is a voice. It's been whispering the same thing over and over again. It's time. But time for what? Not to hustle harder, not to become this ultra-productive, super positive version of yourself. It's time to stop lying to yourself, to stop pretending everything's fine when it's not, to stop calling burnout drive, to stop using busy as an excuse to avoid feeling anything real. If you're being brutally honest, you've been feeling that quiet ache for a long time now. Not the kind of pain that screams, not breakdowns or panic attacks. I'm talking about the dull, empty feeling that shows up when your life looks fine on the outside, but inside it feels like something's missing. You know that fake laugh? That weird disconnect you feel around people you're supposed to be close to? That moment you scroll past something that hits you a little too hard, not because it hurts, but because it almost touched a part of you you've buried too deep? Yeah, that. There's more to you than this routine, more than just pleasing people, more than performing and pretending. But every time you try to sit with that feeling, boom, you distract yourself. Phone, food, work, noise, anything to avoid hearing that little voice inside that keeps saying, this isn't it. That voice doesn't shout. It waits. It knows that eventually you'll get tired. Not just physically tired, but tired in your soul. Tired of numbing, tired of shrinking, tired of waiting for someone else to rescue you, when deep down you know it's always been up to you. That real version of you, the one you've been hiding, they're still there. Underneath the coping, underneath the fake strength, underneath all the noise. And when you finally stop filling every quiet moment, you'll hear them, not in words, but in a feeling, a truth that doesn't need explanation. This message, it's not giving you a magic formula. It's a mirror, an honest one. It's here to remind you of what you already know. You've outgrown the life you built while you were still afraid to be seen. And now, it's time to meet the version of you that isn't afraid anymore. But here's the crazy part. When you start choosing yourself, it doesn't feel all powerful and awesome at first. It actually feels like loss. You start losing people, losing habits, losing parts of your identity that once made you feel safe, even if they were holding you back. You wake up one day and realize the version of you who knew how to people please, how to shapeshift into what everyone else needed, doesn't want to show up anymore. And yeah, that's scary, because suddenly you're in this weird space. You're too awake to go back, but not confident enough to move forward. You start noticing how often you used to abandon yourself, how often you laughed when it wasn't funny, said yes when you wanted to say no, stayed quiet just to keep the peace. But now your body won't let you play those games anymore. You try to force it, but something inside you resists. You feel it in your chest, your stomach, that tightness that shows up when you're about to betray your own truth. You know what that tightness is? It's your body standing up for you, saying no more. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. You're not too sensitive. You're just done with fake. And yeah, it gets lonely at first. You start saying no more often. You cancel plans and don't feel guilty. You stop explaining yourself to people who never really listened anyway. People will notice. Some will say you've changed. Some might even call you selfish. But here's the truth. Sometimes choosing yourself looks selfish to people who only benefited when you neglected yourself. Let that sink in. You're not being difficult. You're being honest. And yeah, it's messy. Real healing always is. It doesn't come with fireworks or big breakthroughs. Most days, it's just sitting with uncomfortable feelings and not running away from them. There's no roadmap for this part of the journey, no checklist, no guaranteed outcome. It's just you, learning how to come home to yourself. And at first, it feels like grief. You grieve the version of you that settled for less. The one who smiled through pain, the one who dimmed their own light just to make others feel more comfortable. You grieve the people who can't come with you, not because they're bad, but because they only knew how to love the version of you that kept shrinking. Letting go isn't easy. Sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart, but maybe that's the point. Maybe some things need to fall apart, not so you can fix them, but so you can finally make space for what's real. Because here's the truth most people won't tell you. Real growth feels like a breakdown before it feels like a breakthrough. You'll feel lost, confused, alone. You'll question everything. Was any of it ever real? Why didn't I see it sooner? Why does choosing myself feel so heavy? That's normal. You're shedding layers, not just habits, but identities, roles you played, expectations you carried, pain you inherited. You're finally asking, who am I when I'm not performing? And the answer doesn't come right away. It comes in moments, like when you say no and your voice doesn't shake, like when you sit in silence and it doesn't scare you anymore, like when you look in the mirror and don't see someone who's broken, but someone who's brave, because you are. Brave doesn't mean loud. It doesn't mean fearless. It means facing the truth even when it shakes you. It means standing in your own presence even when no one else claps. That's the part they don't glamorize. This isn't some highlight reel. This is the unfiltered, uncomfortable, sacred work of coming back to yourself. You're not becoming someone new. You're unbecoming everything you were never meant to be. You're remembering, and slowly, so slowly it feels like nothing's happening, you start choosing differently. You don't rush to respond. You don't beg to be understood. You stop explaining your worth to people who never valued it in the first place. You start trusting that your silence says enough, that your boundaries are love, that your rest is productive, that your intuition knows. You stop making yourself small to make others comfortable. You stop saying yes just to keep peace, because now you realize every time you said yes to them, you were saying no to yourself. Now you pause. Now you breathe. Now you ask, what do I need? And when that voice inside answers, you actually listen. That voice isn't dramatic. It doesn't yell. It just wants to be heard. It's been waiting for years for you to turn inward instead of outward, to stop performing and just be. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not too much. You're not too emotional. You're not broken. You're just shedding who you had to be to survive. And that takes time. Healing isn't linear. You'll have days where you feel strong, grounded, peaceful, and then the next day, you're back in a spiral, wondering if you've made any progress at all. That's part of it. Don't judge yourself for feeling. Don't rush yourself to get better. This isn't about perfection, it's about truth. And truth, though, is messy. It doesn't always look good. It doesn't always sound wise. Sometimes truth just sounds like, I don't know who I am anymore, but I know I can't keep being this version of me. That's enough. That's where it starts. One honest moment at a time. One breath at a time. And before you know it, you start to notice something shifting, not in the world, but in you. You start feeling safe in your own skin. You start laughing again. And it's real. You walk into rooms and no longer shrink. You stop reaching for distractions every time you feel discomfort. You start facing your feelings, and they don't break you. They build you. You start loving yourself, not the perfect version, but the real one. The one with scars, the one with history, the one who's still learning how to stand tall without apology. And listen, you don't need anyone's permission to heal. You don't need anyone to understand your journey. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You're allowed to protect your peace. You're allowed to grow at your own pace. You're allowed to outgrow people, places, and patterns. You're allowed to choose yourself, even if it's uncomfortable, even if no one claps, even if it scares you. You've been doing hard things your whole life. You've survived storms that no one even knows about. You've kept going when everything inside you was begging to stop. And now it's your time, not to hustle, not to prove, but to come home, to you. So if you've made it this far, maybe part of you already knows. You're not broken. You're just shedding the version of you that was never real. And if this spoke to something deep in you, subscribe. Not for me, but for you. Because the next time you forget who you are, I'll be right here to remind you.